The scent of imported roses still lingered in her memory, the ones she had never been allowed to carry. Aria stood outside the gleaming glass doors of La Belle Élégance, the most prestigious bridal salon in the entire city. Her reflection stared back at her, small, unsure, wearing a plain second-hand dress and holding an envelope clutched so tightly her fingers had turned pale. Inside it was the one thing she thought would make her dream come true, a contest invitation for a free bridal consultation and gown fitting, awarded to just 5 women in the entire region. She'd gotten the email weeks ago. "Congratulations, Miss Aria Lane, you've been selected." The words had made her heart race. She wasn't engaged, she wasn't even dating, but for a girl who grew up with nothing and had dreamt of walking down the aisle since she was 12, it felt like the universe had whispered, "You're allowed to feel beautiful too." But the second she stepped through those doors, reality slapped her with the coldest hand. The receptionist, a tall, model-thin woman with cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass, had scanned her from head to toe. Then, with a scoff, said, "We don't do charity walk-ins. If you're here to apply for a position, the service entrance is in the back." Aria blinked, held up her invitation and tried to explain. But before she could finish her sentence, a manager appeared, dressed in all black, radiating power and disdain. "I remember this," she said, snatching the envelope. She read the name and frowned. "You're that girl, the one from the East End?" "The mechanic's daughter?" Aria nodded, trying not to shrink. The manager smiled, but it was the kind of smile that cut deeper than silence. "Sweetheart, this salon is for brides, real brides, not desperate girls with fairy tale fantasies." She handed the invitation back with 2 fingers like it was contaminated, but it said, I don't care what it said," she snapped. "Security?" And just like that, without even stepping into a fitting room, Aria was escorted. Out. Humiliated. Tears spilled down her cheeks as pedestrians turned to look. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She just stood there until the heavy doors clicked shut behind her. That night, she cried like a child. She burned the invitation. She promised herself she'd never believe in fairy tales again. But fate wasn't done with her yet. 2 years later, the cameras flashed like lightning storms outside La Belle Élégance. Reporters screamed questions, paparazzi jostled for a better shot. Inside, the same manager, who had once humiliated her, now paced nervously, checking her reflection and muttering to her assistants. "They said the groom is a billionaire. American. New money, but ridiculously powerful. We can't mess this up." When the sleek black limousine pulled up, every head turned, the door opened, and a leg wrapped in designer silk stepped out first. Then the face. Her face. Aria's face. But not the timid girl from 2 years ago. This Aria wore diamonds, like armor. Her eyes were lined with confidence. Her posture screamed untouchable. And on her arm, the most eligible billionaire in the country, Logan D'Angelo, CEO of D'Angelo Enterprises, rumored to be worth $18 billion. As they stepped into the bridal salon, silence swallowed the room whole. And with a soft, deadly smile, Aria said, "You remember me, don't you?" The atmosphere inside La Belle Élégance turned icy. Aria didn't even glance at the staff who once looked down on her. Her focus stayed forward, chin high, each step deliberate. Beside her, Logan walked like a man used to owning every room he entered. But today he wasn't the star. She was. The manager, the same one who had humiliated her 2 years ago, was frozen near the front desk, her jaw twitching like she was biting back the urge to scream. "Miss Lane," she stammered, stepping forward. "It's an honor to welcome you back. We had no idea." "No, you didn't," Aria interrupted smoothly, her voice soft but laced with steel. "You made that clear the last time. I wasn't the right kind of bride, remember?" The room went dead silent. Even the assistants stopped pretending to fold lace. The manager tried to recover. "Well, things have changed, and of course we'd be thrilled to offer you our VIP treatment, completely complimentary. Champagne, private suite, custom fittings." Aria turned her head slowly toward her, eyes unreadable. "You'll treat me the way you treat every other client," she said coolly. No more, no less. This isn't about revenge. This is business. I'm here to buy a dress, and unlike last time, she lifted her hand, flashing a stunning diamond ring that shimmered like fire in the light. I'm actually getting married. Logan leaned down, brushing a kiss to her cheek in perfect synchronization. The manager laughed nervously, her skin paling beneath her makeup. Of course, whatever you wish. But Arya knew. She saw the twitch in her mouth, the flash of recognition. This wasn't just awkward, it was personal. They hadn't expected her to return, and certainly not like this. Arya allowed herself a small inward smirk as she was ushered into the private suite, a room she once wasn't even allowed to look at. As they shut the doors behind her, Logan turned to her, eyes full of something warmer than pride. "You sure? You're okay doing this?" he asked gently. "You don't have to prove anything to anyone, Arya, not anymore." She looked at him for a long second. This man, charming, ruthless, brilliant, had walked into her life when she'd been ready to give up. But he didn't rescue her. He challenged her, he pushed her to finish school, to launch her app, to think bigger, act smarter, dream louder. And somewhere in that chaos, they fell for each other. "I'm not here to prove anything," she finally said. "I'm here because I deserve this, I earned this, and I want to make sure every girl like me knows they're not crazy for dreaming big." Logan nodded once, and with a smile that melted her heart, he stepped out to make calls while the stylists came in. As Arya slipped into the first gown, memories clawed their way back. Her mother working double shift so she could attend dance recitals. The eviction notice that had landed on their doorstep when she was 17. The scholarship she nearly lost when she chose to help her sick father instead of attending exams. Every inch of that dress pressed against the ghosts she carried. But when she stepped in front of the mirror, she saw a woman no longer begging to be seen. She saw power. And just as the stylist began to pin the train, the door cracked open slightly, and a whisper came from one of the assistants. "You won't believe what I just overheard in the hallway." The stylist paused. Arya turned her head. The girl leaned closer, voice low. "They're planning something. The manager's on the phone with someone." She said, "She might be rich now, but I know her secret. I'll ruin that fairy tale before the wedding hits the press." The air dropped 10 degrees. Arya stared at her reflection. So the past hadn't fully let go of her yet, and someone still wanted to see her fall. She didn't flinch. Not at first. Not when the assistant whispered the words like a warning. Not even when her heart dropped like an anchor inside her chest. But her hands, those betrayed her. One started to tremble softly, just enough for the stylist to notice. "Are you okay?" the woman asked. Arya nodded, too quickly. "I just need some air," she said, her voice tight as she slipped out of the dress and pulled her silk robe around her. She barely waited for an answer before slipping out the side hallway, far from the cameras, far from Logan. She found a quiet corner near the service elevator, the one she'd once been told to use like a maid. The irony wasn't lost on her. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at the screen for a beat, then answered. No hello. Just silence. Then, a voice. "You really thought a ring and a billionaire would erase who you are?" Her stomach clenched. That voice, that accent. Vanessa. Of course it was her. Vanessa had been her roommate for 1 year in college. Arya was the scholarship girl. Quiet, shy, always working 2 jobs. Vanessa had been the rich girl playing poor for aesthetic. Fake woke, fake kind, and secretly cruel. She knew everything. Every embarrassing moment, every raw truth Arya had once whispered in the dark, thinking they were friends. She even knew the one thing Arya had buried so deep, she rarely let herself think of it. "You stole something that wasn't meant for you," Vanessa hissed. "You think you belong in high society now? Wearing my designer's gowns? Walking in salons where you used to clean the floors?" Arya gritted her teeth. "What do you want? I want you gone. You leave Logan. You disappear from the press. You pretend this never happened, or what?" Arya challenged. "I leaked the video." Arya froze. That damn video, it wasn't what people would assume. Not scandalous in the usual way. But it was real, raw. A blurry recording of Aria crying on the floor of a bathroom 2 years ago, right after being kicked out of this exact salon, rambling into her phone, saying she wasn't good enough, that she'd never be enough for someone, like Logan, that she wanted to vanish. The girl in the video was shattered, desperate, not the woman she had become. But to the media, to the world, it would be spun into weakness, mental instability, gold digger sob story, a PR disaster. I kept it, Vanessa continued smug. You remember when I told you journaling would help? I even helped record some of it for your healing, remember, so you could watch yourself grow. She laughed. But I knew you'd mess up eventually, and now I have the perfect leverage. Aria's throat dried. Why now? Because Logan was mine before he ever saw you. We had plans. And you're a chapter he was never supposed to read. The call ended. Aria stared at her reflection in the elevator doors, not crying, not shaking, furious. She returned to the suite, spine straighter than steel. Logan was there now, waiting. He opened his mouth to ask, but she just held up a hand. Not yet, she said. I need to handle something first. Later that evening, Aria sat alone in their penthouse suite, a glass of wine untouched in front of her. Her phone buzzed. Again, a message from Vanessa. You have 48 hours, make the right choice. Attached was a thumbnail, that damn video. But Aria wasn't the same girl who cried on a bathroom floor anymore, and she was done letting people pull strings on her life. She pulled open her laptop. If Vanessa wanted a war, she was about to get one. The city lights flickered outside, the penthouse windows, but Aria's world had narrowed down to one thing: strategy. She wasn't some broken girl clinging to a rich man's arm anymore. She was the CEO of her own tech startup, a rising public figure, and more importantly, she knew how to control a narrative. Vanessa thought she could use Aria's past against her. Then she clearly hadn't met the woman who mastered turning pain into power. With a few strokes of the keyboard, Aria opened her private drive. She found the original clips from that night, unedited, unfiltered, raw. She remembered every frame, the tear-stained cheeks, the whispering into her phone. It had been dark and vulnerable, but it was also honest. That was her superpower now. She didn't need to hide. She just needed to speak first. By morning, social media was in meltdown. From Broken to Billionaire was trending within 2 hours. Aria had posted the video herself, captioned it with, 2 years ago I was kicked out of a bridal salon for not looking the part. I recorded this video on the bathroom floor. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't rich. I was just a girl trying to believe in herself again. Today I'm wearing the same dress I couldn't afford back then, custom made this time, and I'm marrying the man who never once asked me to change who I am. To every girl who's ever been told you're not enough, you are. The internet erupted. Thousands of comments, retweets, celebrities sharing her story, journalists requesting interviews. Women from all walks of life stitched her video with their own, crying, cheering, connecting. And Vanessa, she was drowning. Her attempt at blackmail had backfired spectacularly. Someone leaked screenshots of her email threats, probably one of her own jealous friends. Her PR agency dropped. Her sponsors cut ties. And within 24 hours, her own father, CEO of a legacy firm, released a statement distancing the family name from her cruel behavior. Logan walked into the kitchen, holding his phone and wearing a lazy grin. Did you just destroy a trust fund? Princess before breakfast. Aria sipped her coffee. Technically, it was brunch. He laughed, crossing the room to pull her into his arms. You didn't even tell me you were posting it. I would have had the press release ready. I didn't want to wait, she said. She thought shame would break me. I wanted to show her I already walked through fire. I'm still standing. Logan brushed a kiss to her forehead. Damn right you are. She leaned against his chest, breathing in the safety of it all. But she knew it wasn't over yet, because sometimes winning one battle just shines a spotlight on the next. Later that afternoon, while final fittings continued at La Belle Elegance, the manager pulled her aside discreetly. We're being investigated. Aria blinked. By who? State Anti-Discrimination Board. Someone filed a complaint about the way you were treated 2 years ago. They're digging into employee records, customer experiences, bias claims. Arya tilted her head slightly, lips twitching upward. Oh, that's awful, she said. Her voice dipped in honeyed sarcasm. The manager paled. We had no idea you'd turn into someone this important. Had we known... Arya raised a finger. That's your problem. You only respect people after the world tells you they matter. I always mattered. You just didn't see it. The manager opened her mouth again, but Arya was already walking away, back to her fitting, back to her dress, back to the altar she was finally walking toward on her terms. But as she passed the mirror, something flickered in her reflection. A shadow behind her. A man. Watching. She turned. Fast. But the hallway was empty. Her heart kicked. That wasn't paparazzi. That wasn't salon staff. That was intentional. Someone was watching her. And they wanted her to know it. The next morning started with soft piano music, sunlight through sheer curtains, and the distant clink of cutlery from room service. But Arya didn't feel peace. She felt watched. Even Logan noticed her change. She was quiet, more alert, like a soldier in silk. Talk to me, he said over breakfast, pouring her coffee just the way she liked it. She stirred it slowly, watching the cream swirl. Do you think people like us are ever really safe? Logan didn't answer right away. People like you, Arya, are dangerous to the ones who feed on weakness. That makes you a target, but also... He leaned forward, serious now. It makes you powerful. She nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. That shadow she saw yesterday, it hadn't been imagined, she was sure of it. And later that night, she'd received a package, no name, no sender. Inside, a single photo, from her childhood. A picture no one should have. She was maybe 8, standing in front of her old trailer home, barefoot, holding a toy wedding veil, made from lace scraps her mum had sewn together. She was smiling, but scribbled across the bottom of the photo in jagged black ink was one line, "Still pretending, little princess?" Arya had torn it in half before Logan could see it. Now her past wasn't just trying to humiliate her, it was threatening her. Later that evening, as Logan attended a charity board meeting, Arya decided to do something she hadn't in years. She returned to the East End. The neighborhood was the same. The cracked sidewalks, the faded murals, the sound of old rap music echoing from passing cars. It was where she was raised, where she'd learned how to survive, and maybe where she'd left an enemy behind. She walked slowly, hoodie pulled over her head, avoiding eye contact. Her footsteps took her straight to the corner store she used to clean on weekends for extra cash. The bell above the door jingled as she entered. The clerk looked up, then squinted. "Arya Lane," he said, disbelief flooding his face. "Damn, girl, you look expensive." She smiled politely. "I need a name." He raised an eyebrow. "Still sharp, huh? Who you looking for?" She hesitated, then finally said it. "Jax." The clerk's smile dropped instantly. "You don't want that smoke. I'm not scared of him. You should be." Jax had once been her mother's boyfriend. Not a stepdad. Never earned that title. Just a man who took more than he gave, who left bruises on walls and hearts. Arya remembered him yelling, always blaming, always threatening to fix things if they didn't go his way. He disappeared when she turned 16. Vanished. Now she was starting to think he hadn't just disappeared. He'd been waiting. The clerk scribbled an address on a paper bag and slid it across the counter. "If he's really back, he's staying with a cousin out in Bayfield. Careful, Arya. That man's got a long memory." She folded the bag and left without another word. She wasn't scared. She was done running. That night she returned to the penthouse. Logan was home, sitting by the window, reading the news, on his tablet. He looked up when she walked in. "You went somewhere," he said, watching her carefully. "I did." He set the tablet down. "Want to talk about it?" She walked over, climbed into his lap, and rested her head on his shoulder. "Soon," she said, "but not yet." He didn't press her, he didn't need to, but as they sat in silence, the door buzzer rang. The doorman's voice crackled through the intercom. "Miss Lane, there's someone here to see you." She pressed the button. "Who is it?" The voice on the other end made her blood freeze. "It's been a long time, baby girl." "Jax." Aria didn't breathe, not when she heard the voice, not when the buzzer echoed through the walls of her penthouse, not when Logan stood up slowly, eyes narrowing, sensing something was wrong. She pressed the button again, her voice colder now. "What do you want?" Jax chuckled, low, gravelly, the sound of a man who liked playing with fear. "To talk, that's all. No need for drama, right? I heard you made something of yourself. Thought I'd stop by. Catch up." Her hand tightened into a fist. Catch up? This man, the same one who called her mother useless, who threw a plate at Aria when she was 13 because dinner was cold, who walked out the night her mother got sick. He wanted to catch up. "No," she said firmly. "Turn around. Don't ever come near me again." There was silence. Then the buzzer rang again, and again, 5 times in a row. Logan walked over slowly and placed his hand on her back. His face was unreadable, calm in the way a man gets before he explodes. "Who is he?" Aria swallowed. "A mistake from my mother's life. He's dangerous, Logan. Manipulative. He's trying to scare me." Without another word, Logan picked up the phone and made a call. "Activate full security lockdown on the penthouse," he said into the line. "Track the man currently at the lobby entrance. Facial ID, record everything. He doesn't get within 10 floors of this place again." He hung up and turned to her. "You don't ever deal with monsters alone again, Aria." But she wasn't afraid for herself anymore. She was afraid for what Jax knew. He wasn't stupid. If he was here, it wasn't just to intimidate. He had leverage. Later that night, Aria stared at her computer screen. She dug into public records, private files, anything she could use to figure out what Jax was really after. Then she found it. A file buried under years of legal paperwork tied to her mother's old apartment lease. There it was. Jax had co-signed the property, which meant, in a twisted legal loophole, he had a documented connection to Aria's childhood address, a paper trail, a story, the kind tabloids loved. And then she found something worse. 2 weeks. Ergo, Jax had signed a deal with a media house notorious for scandal exposés. They weren't just trying to dig into Aria's past. They were preparing a piece. The trash-to-tycoon bride, Aria Lane's forgotten roots. She stared at the title. They were going to spin her trauma, her poverty, her pain, all for clicks. The marriage wasn't even official yet. And they were already building the fire to burn her at the stake. She closed the laptop and stood. If they wanted a show, they were going to get one. But she would direct it. The next morning, Aria walked into La Belle Elegance for her final fitting. The staff stood straighter, smiled wider. The fear in their eyes told her they'd seen the headlines too. She didn't care. She stepped into the spotlight, fully dressed in a gown made of defiance and silk. Cameras clicked, reporters shouted her name, and she turned to face them with perfect poise. "I hear people are curious about where I came from," she said. Into the mic, a hush fell. "So let me clear the air, before anyone else tries to write my story for me." And she told them. All of it. Her broken childhood, her mother's struggle, the man who haunted their lives, the moment she was kicked out of this very salon, the bathroom floor video, the trauma, the hunger, the nights she thought she'd never matter. "But I climbed out," she finished, "not in spite of where I come from, but because of it." She looked directly into the cameras, no longer just a bride, a force. "Let the past come knocking," she said. "I don't run from it anymore. I build higher walls." But just as she was about to walk away, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time, it wasn't Jax, it was something worse. A text. "We have your mother's medical files, all of them. You keep talking, we keep leaking. Clock's ticking. Sweetheart." Her chest tightened. This wasn't just about her anymore. They were going after the one person who couldn't defend herself, her mother. And Aria was running out of time. The moment she read that message, something shifted inside. Her, not panic, not fear, focus. Aria didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just turned to her stylist, smiled softly and said, "I'll need this dress tailored for combat." The woman blinked, unsure if it was a joke. It wasn't. By the time she stepped out of the salon, Arya was already on the phone with her private investigator, Samir, a brilliant ex-journalist who'd built a career on uncovering the dirt behind smear campaigns. Text came from a burner, he said, already scanning her message. But not smart enough. They connected to a Wi-Fi network yesterday in Midtown. Guess who owns the building? Don't tell me. Davenport Media Group. Same crew that signed Jax. And here's the kicker. They were recently paid $500,000 under a blind LLC. Guess whose name came up as a silent investor? Vanessa, Arya said flatly. Bingo. So it wasn't just one enemy. It was a coalition, Vanessa, Jax, and a media machine with 500,000 reasons to destroy her reputation before the wedding of the decade. Arya didn't hesitate. "Expose everything," she said. "Use the backup drive I gave you, the receipts, the NDA breaches, her text messages. Go nuclear." "You sure?" Samir asked. "They came after my mother. I'm past mercy." That night, Arya returned home and told Logan everything. He listened without interruption, jaw tight, fingers steepled like he was already calculating someone's downfall. "They want to play dirty," she said. "I'll show them what dirty really looks like." Logan stood, crossed the room, and kissed her forehead. "You're not alone in this." She nodded. "But this part, I have to lead it." By dawn, the news broke like a hurricane. Exclusive, Billionaire bride Arya Lane, targeted in coordinated smear plot. Insiders expose. Source behind scandal threats, screenshots, voice notes, signed checks, even a video of Vanessa in a private party, laughing about how easy it would be to buy off media attention before Arya's wedding. People were furious. Sponsors pulled out of Davenport Media's upcoming projects. Vanessa's father cut her off entirely. Jax, caught on camera leaving the building with a duffel bag full of cash looking like a man fleeing a sinking ship. And then came Arya's final play, a live interview. One night only. She didn't use a PR team, no press prep, just her, on camera, raw. "I've been called fake, a social climber, a nobody pretending to belong. And if you'd told 13-year-old me I'd one day be wearing couture and marrying a billionaire, I'd have laughed too. But here's the thing, I never pretended. I survived, I fought, and I earned this." The interviewer asked her one final question. "What would you say to the people still trying to drag you down?" Arya looked dead into the lens and said, "You can't bury someone who already rose from the grave." The internet lost it. Logan found her later that night standing alone on their balcony, city lights reflecting in her eyes. "You won," he said softly. "No," she whispered. "I survived. The winning part comes tomorrow." He wrapped his arms around her. "Tomorrow?" She turned to him with a smile that was all teeth and steel. "Our wedding." The morning of the wedding was quiet, not tense, not nervous, just still, like the world was holding its breath for what came next. Arya sat alone in the bridal suite, wrapped in silk, her hair half done, her makeup untouched. She was staring out the window, watching the sun rise slowly over the skyline she once only saw from the bus. She wasn't thinking about Jax, or Vanessa, or the headlines. She was thinking about her mum, about the time she taped a paper veil to her forehead and paraded around their one-bedroom apartment, giggling and dreaming of something bigger. "You'll have your fairy tale someday," her mother had said, sick in bed but smiling like it was a promise. "You just have to live long enough to fight for it." She had. And now she was living it. When the stylist returned to finish her look, Arya stood tall, her dress shimmering like moonlight, every inch tailored to fit the woman she'd become. The train trailed like royalty. The diamond earrings glittered like fire. But nothing sparkled brighter than the calm in her eyes. The ceremony was set in a glass garden above the city, on the rooftop of D'Angelo Tower. Floral walls bloomed in soft whites and blush pinks. Chandeliers hung above, catching every golden beam of the morning sun. The guests were star-studded, CEOs, actors, politicians. And yes, plenty of people who once doubted her were now dressed in designer gowns, desperate to say they knew her when. But Arya didn't notice them. She only saw Logan, standing at the altar, black tux, jaw tight with emotion, eyes never leaving hers. She walked toward him slowly, every step heavy with purpose. No father to walk her down, no need. She'd walked herself through hell. When they met at the altar, Logan took her hands, and for the first time all day, she let her heart show. "You made it," he whispered. She smiled. "No, we made it." The vows weren't long, just real. Logan's voice cracked when he said, "You are not the light in my life, you are the life. I don't want perfect, I want real, I want you forever." And when it was Arya's turn, she looked straight into his soul. "I was born in shadows. I learned to love myself in silence. But you were the first person who ever made me feel seen, not as someone to fix, but someone to fight beside. So this isn't a promise of perfection. It's a promise that no matter what they throw at us, I will never go back to being the girl who begged to be enough. Because now, I know I am." The officiant barely finished the line before Logan kissed her. The applause was thunder. The first dance was soft, slow, just the two of them swaying in a world they built from broken pieces. And for once, everything felt safe, until the final toast. As Logan raised his glass and thanked the guests, a waiter slipped Arya a folded note. No words on the outside, just her name. Inside, "You won the battle, but you were never the only one watching. We see you now and we're coming." No signature, just a logo, a black serpent wrapped around a key. Arya stared at it, her heart slowing to a dull, steady thud. Logan noticed. "What is it?" She folded the note carefully. "Nothing," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just another story waiting to be told."